All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Zoom is letting people join in batches, so we're going to wait another 45 seconds, actually 26 seconds until we start. If you'd like, feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself and let us know where you're from. I think we're going to start right about now. Yes. All right, so welcome to the highlight of the year. This is the 2024 Market Trends and Insights webinar by Hostaway with Vrbo. We are going to hear straight from the insiders of this industry what is going on and what are the things we all as property managers or property owners should be aware of so that we can market our properties as effectively as possible. And I'm very glad to say we got Sam and Emily here from Vrbo, and I understood also Jamie and Riley are on the line just in case. They're all based in Austin. On Hostaway's side, my name is Marcus. I'm the CEO and co-founder based in Toronto. We got Maria, VP of Product based in Barcelona, and Josh, our Chief Customer Officer based in San Antonio. So let's get started because we got a lot of content. Just a few ground rules first. We are going to record this. I don't know why I say that every webinar and then someone asks, is it going to be recorded? The answer is always yes. You will find it on the Hostaway YouTube channel. And the second thing is we encourage questions. We usually don't get through all the questions, but please use the Q&A function here. That makes it a lot easier for us as panelists to coordinate and get to all the questions. So let's, Dominican Republic, welcome, Babak. That sounds great. So first, a brief introduction about Hostaway. If we take the next slide. We are the leading all-in-one short-term rental software for property managers. We're very, very global. Here's a snapshot of where most of our staff is based. We are a fully remote company. In case you're looking for a job, feel free to apply. What makes us different? Well, a lot of things make it different. For example, the reviews that we get that are based on not only our software, but our excellent support. But just to show, how, for example, Vrbo sees our relationship, we are the highest tier partnership there in 2024. We're an elite partner, and I won't mention any other names there at the bottom of the screen, but those are some pretty big names in the industry here as well. Now, I'm just coming back from New Orleans. There was the VRMA, Vacation Rental Managers Association Spring Forum, and we threw a great party. If any one of you is going to any other trade shows this year, probably I'll be there. So send me a message on LinkedIn if you want to reach out. Now, if you do want to meet our entire team, on the next slide, I'm very proud to announce we are going to have a Hostcella. What is that? Well, that's a conference for Hostaway users, fans, partners, and staff. It's going to be in November in Miami. So if you like neon lights, 80s music, if you like sports cars, and apparently deserts and mountains as well, but especially palm trees, then I hope you all can come to Miami. It's a great location because if you're in Europe, I guarantee you there will be a direct flight there. And if you're in North America, I guarantee you there will be a direct flight. And especially if you're in South America, there will also be a direct flight to Miami. So it's going to be very easy for you to join us for Hostcella 2024. But now let me give over to our valued guests here at Vrbo. Maybe Sam, you're taking over, right?
Yes, Marcus, thank you. My name is Sam. I'm the connectivity account manager at Vrbo. Part of my role is working with our connectivity partners like Hostaway. But as many of you know, we're dedicated to empowering property owners and managers like you all to reach millions of travelers, maximize on your rental income, and power your businesses. But we couldn't do it without some of our partnerships, such as Hostaway. They've been instrumental in helping hosts worldwide streamline their businesses and achieve greater success. So today's webinar is all about sharing some insights from the market, sharing some best practices on how to be successful on Vrbo, and yeah, hoping that everyone can find a little bit of value. So really quickly, the agenda for this is going to be first, why list with Vrbo? and then I'll go into some market trends that we're seeing. And then I'll pass it over to my colleague Emily from our partner success team to go over a little bit about how to attract more views, how to get more bookings. And then, like Marcus mentioned, at the end, we'll save time for some Q&A. So make sure to submit your questions. So the first question is, why list with Vrbo? I know this is a Vrbo webinar, so maybe many of you are already listed and you understand why, but maybe there's some people that haven't listed on Vrbo yet or are thinking about it. Integrating with multiple channels helps you maximize on your bookings. Vrbo travelers, we hear often from our partners, they love Vrbo travelers. And it's not just because they're typically larger families that move in groups. It's because they also stay longer, they book earlier, and they even spend more on average. So if you're looking to maximize the revenue that you're receiving or bookings that you're receiving on your calendar, Vrbo is a great place to tap into our travelers. Again, I want to go back, and if you're not on Vrbo, but you're a Hostaway customer thinking about it, just know that you have an elite connection. So I'll take this time again to congratulate Hostaway on 2024 for being an elite connectivity partner again. And if you're unaware what this badge means, Vrbo, we have a connectivity partner program where we highlight our top integration partners. So this means Hostaway consistently delivers on an excellent travel experience on Vrbo. They develop their software integrations to a high standard with advanced tools and features. They have high quality technical connection to Vrbo with a reliable user experience. And they also engage with our Vrbo team to continuously optimize their tools, capabilities, always adopting features as early as possible. So if you're not taking advantage of that connection, you should be. You have that elite connection. So being connected to Hostfully and being on Vrbo, you're able to grow at scale. You can rely on that connection. You can improve accuracy, make sure your calendars are in sync so you're not getting double bookings. Your updates are on autopilot, so less manual work. You probably already know this if you're working with Hostaway, but being able to update your rates, your availability, your content on the fly. And then, of course, taking control and being able to change your cancellation policies, add more listings, and all of that through the connection. Also, touching back on our traveler demand, Vrbo, Expedia, hotels, we average 6 million plus average daily visitors across all of our sites. When you are listed on Vrbo, there's a good chance that your listings are also being presented on Expedia. So know that we're getting those travelers from Expedia over to Vrbo, and your listing maybe move over there as well based on supply and demand. We have 200 million plus average monthly searches on our EG sites for vacation rentals. And like I mentioned before, you're tapping into guests that spend more, stay longer, and have a higher booking value versus other competitors. We've also recently released One Key. So if you're unaware, this is the first major vacation rental platform that has a loyalty program. Our research has shown people love to use their reward programs. They prefer to book with it. So right now, members are able to earn points when booking Vrbos, flights, hotels, anything across Expedia, and use them across Expedia, hotels.com and Vrbo. So this is great for the industry, great for travelers who prefer to gain points or use points, and good for you all.
I don't want to interrupt, but the One Key is actually a great bridge to a question here by Anu. She asked, why do you think travelers stay longer, book earlier, or spend more with Vrbo? And I'd love to hear Vrbo's take on this as well, but I'll share mine. So the thing with almost any brands is that when you look at the demographics of who uses a brand, for example, if you compare your friends or acquaintances that are using an iPhone versus those who are using a Samsung, or those who use an Apple computer. Well, I shouldn't only be talking about Apple, but you get the point. There's a difference maybe in the age, maybe in the gender, maybe in the income level, maybe in the geographical location. And that's exactly the same thing with Vrbo. They have been able to successfully market to a certain demographic that just happens to be traveling and planning their travels way ahead, and they are willing to spend a lot when they're traveling, and they want to stay a long time. In other words, they have money and time. There's other companies in the space that focus on those who have a lot of time, but not a lot of money. There's also companies that focus on those that have money, but no time. Vrbo has been able to do a perfect marketing to those who have both the time and money. And the one key there with the loyalty points, a lot of that demographic also happens to be people who spend a lot on business travel, and they earn a lot of credit card points or loyalty points overall. And as you know, those are great to be spent on planes, but they so far haven't been able to convert that and use those points anywhere else. But since a lot of those plane tickets or hotels are booked using Expedia, the one key is now an additional way to get that same demographic to use those points that they collect through their loyalty on your vacation rental properties. I don't know, Vrbo. I don't work at Vrbo. I'm just guessing here. Am I completely out in the woods?
No, I think you hit it you hit it with the hammer right on the head. So yeah, our travelers typically tend to be more families, larger groups, multi-generational. And like you said, the being able to provide points or use points, I think as most people probably have a credit card on this call, we know the value of, or maybe a preferred airline, we know the value of adding points and maybe traveling for work, but being able to use those points for something else. So we know Expedia is used a lot for hotel travel or hotels.com. So being able to receive those points from those bookings and then use it on a family vacation on Vrbo is what the goal of this is going to be in the future of this. And you can see here, we already have 168 million plus members of One Key. So this is across all of our websites. So, and like we mentioned, spend more and book more frequently. So really quickly, we're going to go over a few market trends. This is coming from, if you haven't had a chance to read it, our Expedia's Unpack 24. So this is looking at first party data from Expedia, hotels.com, and Vrbo, and also a global consumer survey of 20,000 travelers across 14 different countries. So this gives us a look into, and if you haven't read it, you can find um, the entire case study or trend on our website. But what this does is it shows a look into how the travelers will be planning their travel in the coming year, their evolving priorities and preferences. And so basically, so you all can provide that best experience for your travelers. So people are still traveling. Vrbo research shows that 1/3 of respondents plan to take more trips in 2024. Groups are finding new reasons to get together and celebrate. So as you can see here, there's going to be more puppy moons, more first date anniversaries, things like that. They're finding more reasons. That could be a promotion or a new job, things like that. So beyond the usual girls' weekends and college reunions, there's going to be more work-related occasions coming. They're more likely to book a weekend or trip, things like that. Guests are just looking for a reason to travel with friends and family. So make sure you're capturing this demand by encouraging your guests to leave reviews of your property that include anecdotes of what they were doing, why they were there, were they celebrating something, how your property made that experience better. Make sure you're leveraging Instant Book. And we're going to talk about more of these recommendations later, but part of these trends, make sure you're leveraging Instant Book to speed up the booking process. So if they're trying to do a quick weekend trip coming up, they're able to know that they can come in and quickly make that booking and not wait for it to be processed. And then also offer flexible cancellation policies to remove some friction that guests may have around planning it or being unsure if the plans are finalized yet. Having that will help.
Thanks, Sam, for mentioning
Yeah.
reviews there. I just wanted to mention that I travel quite extensively. I usually stay at vacation rentals, and it's still shocking to me how many people send a message asking me for a 5-star review or trying to explain what star I should choose, rather than trying to explain what would be valuable to mention in the review. Now, as a traveler, I read a lot of those reviews, and I always end up booking places where I can read a story rather than someone, I guess, saying this was a nice place to stay or I enjoyed it. I want to read a story about who they are, why they were there, and how long they stayed, and what they did, what the purpose of the trip was. For example, I wanted to meet with a couple of my friends who all have children, and this was a great place to stay for an extended weekend. That's a fantastic user story there that some other travelers will relate to, but I still don't see many hosts asking for that stuff in the reviews, which is very strange because this is what's going to sell the property. So if you have automations set up to ask for reviews, remember to ask your guests to explain a bit more to an online traveler why they were staying there and why it was a good place.
Absolutely. Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, anything that can help when I know when I'm looking for travel, anything that can help me envision myself in that property, right? Is what we want to see. So the next trend is kind of similar to that. It's the outside in trend. So this is saying 42% of our travelers book vacations home with amenities they can't either afford at home or they want to try out first. So making sure, I mean, this could be like cold plunges, paddleball. I know pickleball is getting very popular. If there's access to pickleball courts, include this in the description, in the photos. Make sure that, you know, I don't want to go, and I know most travelers don't want to visit a home that has just the basic amenities that I have at home already. I want something outside of that. Also, 30% of travelers will choose a vacation home with outdoor amenities, so they never have to leave the property. Um, when I book a hotel, I know that I'm going to be there. I'm going to park my bags there. I'm probably going to shower there and sleep there. But most of the other times I'm outside. When someone books a vacation rental or a home, they're probably going to be there for a longer period of time. And I think the goal a lot of times, or at least you can see 30% of the time, is to never have to leave that property. So showing these amenities, writing in the description what you have to offer that maybe they don't have at home is crucial here. And just to go over a few things that these cover, it's relaxation and rejuvenation. So if you have a hot tub, a cold plunge, a barrel sauna, if you want to add a hot tub to your property, these are things that travelers are looking for. Anything around sports and recreation, if that's a ping pong table, bocce ball, access to pickleball, any kind of lawn games that you have available, these are important. These are less things that travelers have to travel with to come if they want to make sure to have a family reunion with lawn games. Making sure you add that into your listing. Anything with fire, of course, outside. So if that's a barbecue, we've seen this is very important over the years, having access to a grill, an outdoor kitchen, a fire pit, anything like that. These are this is what's been important and what we've seen across our research. So that about sums up the market trends that we're seeing so far this year. Is there anything you'd like to add, Marcus, before we move forward?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everyone, some of you might already know this, but here at Hostaway, we don't only talk the talk, we also walk the walk. So when I saw this slide, I told my wife, look at this slide from Vrbo. There's a barrel sauna and a fire pit there. We got to have that. So here's a picture from the solar eclipse in our cottage. Oh, it's a bit hard to see with the glare. There's the barrel sauna and the fire pit. I just wanted to make sure you know that we don't bluff here. We don't pretend to be experts. We actually know this stuff. But I'm very glad to see that Vrbo finally added saunas as an amenity.
All right, thank you. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Emily from our Partner Success Account Management team, and she's going to share a little bit about optimization tips and how to perform better on Vrbo.
Hi, I do see some questions and answers or questions coming in. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them kind of in my portion of the presentation here. But I'm an account manager with our partner success team. We have a regionalized portfolio system, so I help the partners in the markets that I cover specifically, and we focus on kind of understanding their business goals with Vrbo and then helping them optimize their listings based on traveler trends, market trends, of course, all while focusing on improving the traveler guest experience there. So there's going to be two parts here. One, we're going to focus on search results, making sure that you're appearing and optimizing there, and then segueing into helping convert those searches and page views into actual bookings. So I think we can move to the next slide. All right, so for this first part, we're going to cover the search factors. There are a few things that come into play here that you can do directly, and then we can continue to do to improve where you fall in the search results. So we're going to cover content, amenities, honor rates, and then rates and availability. So right away, I actually saw someone mention in the chat that they just onboarded with Vrbo last week. And so this is the perfect timing for this topic here, but we really want to focus on making sure that we have good headlines and descriptions. Sam touched on descriptions briefly, but your content is it's valuable in the search results into our travelers. Your headline is your opportunity to market your property from the search results. So as a traveler, if I put in my market and my dates, it's going to populate quite a few properties, and you have the opportunity to use that headline to call out special amenities. If you're appealing to a certain group, how close you are to the beach, are you ski in, ski out? Do you have that sauna? Are you family friendly? Things like that. So it's your opportunity before a guest has even clicked on your property to market and advertise your listing. From there, once we actually get the guest to click on your page, we really want to focus on our descriptions. So having a lot of information about the property as well as what I can do within the area. So really painting the picture of that vacation rental and kind of the experience the guest is going to have. The description is a great opportunity to answer any questions that you might get reoccurring, such as like, what is parking like? Or, you know, outlining the king size bed, how many master suites do you have, things like that. So it's a great opportunity for you to kind of alleviate some of your workload by addressing reoccurring themes that you see and you get from your guest. Paired, I think go to the next slide, paired with the headlines, photos are important. They're key to our guest. As you kind of read through these here, you can see why, but I wanted to touch on a few things outlining the photos. So we want our first photo to be attention grabbing. Again, it's your area to market to get the guest to click on your property. Your first 5 photos are really going to be key. We want to have a picture of that sauna or the pickleball court or the pool or kind of the kitchen island where a family can gather. But from there, we want to arrange our photos as if a guest is walking through your property. And then we also want to include all of the activities that we can do surrounding your vacation rental. So the beach, restaurants, any attractions. So you really truly paint the picture of stay at my vacation rental and here is what your vacation can look like. So the longer we can get a guest to click on your page or stay on your page is simply by cycling through your photos. So making sure that we have the optimal amount of photos is key. Then, as you are onboarding new properties or reviewing your current ones, within Hostaway, you want to make sure that you have all of your amenities checked off. So the more amenities, ideally, the more search results you're going to appear in. On average, our guests select between 5 and 8 filters. We will walk through some of our key ones here as we continue through the presentation, but a great way to go through and see what the guest can actually select is just simply act like a Vrbo guest. And you can see all the filters that populate. So some of our key ones here, pool, beachfront, hot tub, things like that. We'll talk about instant book, premier host, our cancellation filter here later, but this is where you're going to help maximize your search results. You want to make sure that you're populating when guests are looking for what you have to offer. So, it switched. Sorry, there was a delay for me. So avoiding cancellations. This is it's more of a topic these days. When a guest comes to Vrbo, we really want to focus on their traveler experience. So if they found the perfect vacation rental and they've booked it for the 4th of July, we want to, as partners, both owners and managers, want to make sure that we're honoring those cancellations. So it's not a great experience if we have to cancel. So we really want to make sure that our calendar is set up. We want to make sure that our owners are offering full availability. And we want to just be aware that your cancellations can have a negative impact on your search results as well as your premier host status. So working with support to manage those unavoidable cancellations is key there. And then lastly, we want to call out price, both rates and fees. So the number one most important thing to our guests is certainly price. So we want to make sure that we have a dynamic price. You never want to just set your rates and forget them. It's evolving, right? As there's more demand, less demand, as we're coming up on a holiday, things like that come into play here. So making sure that you're constantly adjusting your rates. It's important to try to understand the booking lead time for your traveler demographic, which would be from the time they book their property to the time that they check in. That's really that optimal window when we want to make sure that we are priced competitively against the market, against your competition. And then, taking advantage of last minute bookings or making sure that your rates are set for those holidays, for your peak seasons throughout the year. As far as the fees go, we definitely want to avoid sticker shock. So 2/3 of our travelers would not book a property with 2 or more fees. It's obvious that your vacation rental is going to come with a cleaning fee or potentially a pet fee. But from a traveler perspective, an administrative fee, that's not really, that doesn't mean anything to the guest. So if you're able to roll those rates together or hide them into your nightly rate, but just be mindful that your fees on Vrbo are included. And so just making sure that you're set to have competitive rates is key. And then lastly, availability. So this is where I was talking about understanding our partners' business goals. If your goal is to maximize your calendar, then having a shorter night minimum is going to attract guests year round. Again, this plays into understanding who your travelers are. Maybe school's in session right now, so people are traveling for weekends. So having a shorter night minimum will help you appear in more search results and probably get more bookings for guests versus as summer opens up, we know that families are going to be traveling more and staying a little bit longer. So making sure that you know your market well and then adjust your minimum night stay throughout. And then, of course, opening up your calendar for at least 12 months will help you capitalize on some of those longer bookings, people who might be repeat and using the one key points, or people who are already planning for next summer, for example. Before we dive into the next section, I'm not sure if anyone had any questions or Marcus or Sam wanted to chime in. Otherwise, I could just continue on.
Yeah, you're addressing a lot of the questions here in our QA section. Just a reminder, please put all the questions you want in the QA section, and we'll get to them at the end. But thanks a lot, Emily. It's been great content so far.
Perfect. So now that we've kind of shown how to make sure that you're appearing in search results, there are some heavy hitters that we know can impact and help you convert some of those search results and page views into bookings. And so we want to touch on those. So we're going to cover cancellation policy, instant book, reviews, and premier host, which I believe was one of the questions as well. So next slide. I'm not sure. Josh, do you wanted to touch on this one?
Yeah, so real quick before you get even more started, Emily, I think this was in the wrong place, but that's okay. We'll be able to get through it. So yeah, I wanted to go through here because one of the things that I was looking at when we were planning this webinar is, as Marcus said, we're not a company that's just going to tell you something just because it's the right thing to tell you. So when I was looking through these slides and Emily was talking a little bit about how to optimize your listings, it reminds me of a story we had last year. So in conjunction with the Vrbo team, most of the team members that are on the phone right now, it just goes to show the importance of having this kind of partnerships because everything that we do for our clients is to make sure that they're successful. So our value here at Hostaway is our customer success is our success. And we don't get away from that, right? And so when we look at our partnerships, we're always trying to figure out how does it save our customers time, money, or how does it make them money? So last year, when we rolled out our customer success team, which by the way, Hostaway is the only property management software in the industry that has a real dedicated customer success team. And what does that mean? Most of the companies you'll see have customer support, and we have that as well, and they're very good at what their jobs are. They're basically who you contact and say, hey, I've got this issue, and they say, here's a fix for it. What our customer success managers do is we go out and we find ways to make you money, save you time, and say, hey, you should go do this. And one of the things we did last year with Vrbo is we took all of our customers at that time that, a segment of our customers at that time that were on another platform, another online travel agency that had a lot of bookings. or had some bookings, and they were adopted to Vrbo, or they just joined Vrbo, and they had $0 in bookings. And what we did is we went through each one of those, and we had a bunch of different webinars. We contacted them personally. Vrbo came to those meetings, and then also we made a optimization checklist. So some of the things that Emily's going through right now is the same things we went through then, right? And we delivered that to our clients, and we showed them how to be more successful on Vrbo. And we went from $0 in bookings in one quarter to the over $5 million in bookings for those same clients in just over 3 months. So does this stuff work? It 100% does. So I want everybody to know that when we release things here at Hostaway, and when we have these conversations with Vrbo and our partners, and really every month that we do this, we're doing it because we want to help you be successful in the industry and be that thought leader. And if you go and be successful somewhere else, that's great. But we want you to know you heard it here, right? And we don't just say things just to say them. We want to make sure that you understand that people are very successful when it comes to adopting Vrbo and everything that we bring to the table. So I wanted to make sure that we plug the customer success team, but also let them know that, we've done this before. You can be successful. So if you're on another channel and you haven't adopted Vrbo yet, go and adopt Vrbo. And we're not saying that just because we don't make any more money because of that, right? It's just included in your package here at Hostaway. We make it because we know you're going to be successful and you know you're going to make more money on it.
Perfect. All right, so that brings us to the cancellation policy. So there are different cancellation policies that Vrbo offers. I think this is a big topic we talk to our partners about daily, is offering a more flexible cancellation policy. And I'll kind of go into why and how it plays into Vrbo here shortly. But coming off of the pandemic, we're seeing that our guests truly care about the flexibility. And so where you are able to, as a property manager or property owner, to offer a more flexible cancellation policy, you're going to appear in more search results, but also we see that the conversion rate, so page views to bookings, is actually generally higher on a more flexible cancellation policy. And oftentimes even the risk of a traveler cancellation is pretty consistent. So where you're able to, move away from the refund and strict and firm to relaxed or moderate is going to be ideal, and will appeal to our travelers. So with the filter on the next slide, how it works specifically on Vrbo is based on that booking lead time I was talking about. When a guest comes to Vrbo and they put in their travel dates and they use this free cancellation filter, based on when your cancellation policy offers a full refund is going to impact whether you appear in that search result or not. So for example, if I, as a guest, am traveling and my check-in date is in 45 days from now, and I use this cancellation filter, it's only going to show me properties on relaxed and moderate because you offer there's a chance as a guest that I get 100% refund. So anything for my travel dates 45 days from now, anything on our firm, strict, or no refund policy wouldn't appear in those search results. And so it's important, again, that you know kind of your traveler demographic and when they are looking and booking, because this filter is going to come into play. And so just where you're able to be more flexible, it's going to help you appear in more search results, and our guests care about it. So it truly is going to help with that conversion into a booking.
Maybe Emily, just to add here a little bit. So Hostaway, you can set up all these cancellation policies. We will have support for this, that then it will appear on the filters during the search.
All right, okay. And then another one that is a filter for our guest is Instant Book. This is a big deal to our guests. So they've come to Vrbo and they found the perfect vacation rental for their family or friends, and they want to book it instantly. They don't want to have to wait for that 24-hour or that booking request time frame for the partner to respond. So on average, our partners who use Instant Book see a 33% higher booking conversion. And again, that's page views to booking. And then on average, 24% more net revenue for partners who use Instant Book versus who don't. So it's going to help maximize your search results. You're going to attract more travelers, convert higher. And then save you time, right? You skip that step of having to approve each request. And then lastly, there is an increase for additional exposure on our Expedia platforms, our Expedia website, but you do have to have that instant book feature turned on.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And maybe on the flip side of that, right? So for those of you that are using or planning to use instant booking, you want to keep peace of mind when welcoming guests because you want to make sure that they adhere to or acknowledge your terms and conditions, your house rules, your rental agreements, or you may have actually an obligation to collect guest data, right? So at Hostaway, we provide a functionality within the guest portal that covers all of those use cases. There's a ton of functionality that the guest portal provides today, like upselling. But for the topic of this part of the webinar, through our guest portal, you can collect all the information you require from guests through online check-in form, names, IDs, selfies, even visas from international guests as well, and have your guests agree to your house rules and terms and conditions. I'll show more details in a second. So if you go back for a second, because just to mention that data, which I thought it's very relevant. I was looking at the data and adoption data for the guest portal today, and 70% of our customers use the rental agreements in combination with the online check-in form, right? So it's both of these functionality that we see this is very useful for our customers to keep that peace of mind. So if you go now to the next slide, thank you, Emily. So basically on the rental agreements, it's a little bit of the details there. It provides you with the possibility of having electronic signature. We collect IP addresses and times of signatures as well, so you can keep a record of when that happens. It's customizable per property or even per group of properties. You keep a PDF record, you can share it with your guest, and you can use it in combination with messaging because we have a condition for the automated messages to send extra information only if the rental agreement is signed or is not signed, etc. So maybe in the next slides, talk a little bit quick about the online check-in form. These online check-in forms have become very, very relevant these days. I see a lot of customers using them. And basically, it allows you to collect the information that you need to know about your guests, right? So, and at Hostaway, this functionality allows you to decide at which stage of the reservation life cycle you ask the information from your guests. So you can have it at the time of reservation, you can request it a few days or one day before or after check-in, etc. It's fully customizable questionnaire. We have some default fields that you can add, but you can actually add your own through custom fields as well. So if you need to ask for specific information, you can. Includes ID collection, visa collection, selfies collections for all guests that will come to your property. And you have control over sensitive information. That's very important because you don't want to show details like door codes, exact address, etc. at any given time that it shouldn't be shown, right? So with our system, you can actually set conditions based on the on some parameters. One of them is if the property is if the reservation has been paid. If it has been paid, then you may show the exact address or you may show the door code, etc. So I don't remember now if I have another slide, so if you can move forward. Right, so yeah, that's it. So basically just a quick overview of our guest portal functionality. And if you want to learn more about it, just make sure that you contact Hostaway. I think support@hostaway.com will do the trick for you. Thank you.
Perfect. So moving on to the review section. So review count and review rating both play and factor into helping you increase your search results. We talked a little bit about when guests come to Vrbo, we want them to have a good experience. So we want to match our guests with properties and property managers and owners who are creating a good guest experience. And so as you can see here, 92% of our travelers want to see a review before booking. Marcus kind of gave his experience there as well. But the reviews are important. So making sure that you're proactively requesting reviews, as well as you have the option to rate the traveler for your Vrbo reservations. It's going to be important to your search results as well as to your future guest. And so I think that there was a question in here as well about a guest that was new to Vrbo. Your particular property might not have reviews yet. So one of the things that you can do is simply add new to Vrbo to the front of your headlines. And that it helps explain why you don't have any reviews yet and kind of gives you a little bit of marketing there as a new listing within your headlines there. So it is a two-way process. So we want our guests to have a good experience and we want them to kind of spread that back to your properties, and future guests are going to read that, and helps with that conversion rate as well. And then kind of tying everything we talked about together, and I saw a question there about Premier Host. So the criteria that we account for Premier Host, we recently changed a few of our metrics and made them a little bit harder to reach. But this is our kind of trust branding and loyalty program with our travelers. So it is one of our most used filters. And then these are the things that you as partners are doing. You're accepting and honoring reservations, you're earning reviews and have a good review rating, and then you're not canceling. And those are the types of experiences we want our guests to have. And so once you've earned this Premier Host status, it is at the account level, so all of your listings will have it. It kind of unlocks some additional benefits. So you get the Premier Host badging across each of your listings. There's an automatic improved search position for your listing as well. And then that increased visibility as our guests come and select Premier Host as a filter, it's only going to populate Premier Host listings. And so while it's important to earn this badge, certainly just remember that these are the things that continually get you higher and higher in the search results because you're creating a great traveler experience.
All right, I guess that was it. Thank you very much, Emily. Let's go to the QA section. But first, I just wanted to share that what has been shared here on how to get more bookings on Vrbo and how to accommodate these very strong travel trends that we see across the sector, they all work together. So I'll give you an example. This January, I was talking with my family and we were seeing if we could book something for March 2025. So we went on Vrbo and we found a lot of properties. We weren't sure about the location. Let's say if you have a globe, we knew the general area, but that's a lot of different countries, a lot of different cities that can fit in that area. What we found was quite shocking. First of all, almost no properties available. But then we started looking, okay, what about earlier? Turns out a lot of the properties, you could only book them 6 months or 12 months out. I don't understand what kind of businesses are being run where you got a vacation rental, but you don't want these, someone paying full price for 2 months. You don't want that. But then those that we did find, which was already quite hard because the selection is so much smaller. Many of them had a strict cancellation policy. That's absolutely crazy. What that means is that 14 months before I stay there, I'm going to pay the full amount up front. And then if anything happens in 14 months, there is no chance for me to ever recover that money if I can't go. Now, wouldn't it make more sense, especially if you're someone who's only using a 6 months booking window or 12 months, to at least allow someone to cancel a year in advance or maybe 6 months in advance? That would give the traveler a lot more reason to book. And then the third thing that narrowed down the choice, and the reason why we never ended up booking anything, is if you have to request to get to stay somewhere, yeah, you're gonna be a bit crazy if you spend that much money on a 2-month stay somewhere, especially 14 months ahead. But it's an impulse purchase. But if you don't allow instant book, you remove that impulse. And what happens then is, and I've done this a few times, I sent a request to book and it takes 24 hours before they say, oh, we would love to have you stay. But that time I have sobered up, or my wife had told me to stop it, and I won't go through with the booking. That's exactly the way every single business works. That's why they have candy bars in the grocery stores. Just when you're checking out, you're buying your groceries, very healthy salad and chicken breast, but you're so hungry, you buy that candy bar. It's a last-minute impulsive decision. It's the same thing with booking, especially a high-end property. It's a very impulsive thing. if you do not have the instant book on, you're gonna miss out. But of course, if you have instant book but a strict cancellation policy, you can't just expect to get these 2-month-long bookings for high season a year in advance, especially if you don't have the calendar open. So these things work together. All right, so let's get to the questions. There's a lot of good questions here. I like Sarah's question. She said, I just joined Vrbo last week. Do you do anything to promote new people? I did some looking and I'm constantly on the last page. How can I improve so I become a premier host? Well, the requirements are there. One tip I have to give you though, if you have a property that has been successful on other sales channels, keep in mind that part of that success is exactly what was listed here. It's the cancellation policies, your booking window. Most importantly, your reputation, in other words, your reviews. And the rates that you are getting there are probably a reflection of that. If you have 100 5-star reviews somewhere else and you're getting bookings at a certain price because of that, you can't just expect to go on Vrbo with 0 reviews and ask for the same price. And there's actually a very easy option in Hostaway you can do to invest a bit in your marketing. We have a markup per channel, so you can simply lower the markup for Vrbo until you get these bookings and then focus on getting those good reviews. Once you have those, you can easily reach the premier host status. Vrbo, would you like to add something to that?
No, I think that was, you summed it up perfectly. It's making sure that you're aligned in your market, making sure you take all these optimization tips, making sure you're set up for success on Vrbo. And yeah, being competitive. Take a look in your area. What are some of the rates people are charging? Try different things. Maybe if what you're doing right now isn't working, try changing your headline, try changing your photos, and seeing what works for you.
Solid advice, and especially have a look at what are the other titles and descriptions of the properties in your area. Here's a good question from Barbara. This is for Vrbo. I'm not sure if you can answer that, but she asks, how often do clients search for luxury properties? And what is the average spend per night? I think that very much varies by region, but could you perhaps expand a bit? Is the Expedia group good for luxury properties? And what is a luxury property?
Yeah, I think that kind of a loose definition, but I think that kind of speaks back to our travelers, our travelers are. They're large groups of families, multi-generational, coming together to be in a big house, in a large house, either that's on the beach or near the mountains. So I would say luxury units tend to do better on Vrbo compared to other channels. So if that's what you have, I think we have the best travelers for it. As far as the cost, yeah, that just depends. Like the average cost, that depends on the market, the property type, so many different factors that I probably couldn't share or don't know the answer to. So I did see one question that I wanted to answer from Robert. Is Vrbo involved in working with states and cities to prevent overregulation? Because I think this is important. Yes, Vrbo and Expedia are dedicated. We have a dedicated team of government affair policy and communication professionals that we work directly with state and local, but it's also really important for you all to be involved in this. So you can go, you can Google it or go to, I think it's Vrbo advocacy or vrboadvocates.com. I don't have the web address right now. I can post it here. But go and find your local jurisdiction and make sure you're involved as well. But we do have teams that are dedicated to this.
All right, I'm gonna take that's great to hear. And we also support local advocacy efforts. So if you're leading any advocacy efforts in your region and would like the support of Hostaway, feel free to reach out. You can email me directly at marcus@hostaway.com. Charlie here has a question about offering a trampoline and zipline. Wow, zipline, that's cool. To travelers to attract families. Is this allowed or are there liability concerns? I can answer on quite generic terms here. It's definitely allowed and in fact encouraged. You should be aware though that you should have a liability insurance, a general liability insurance in place. And that's because if you offer even a basic amenity like, let's say, a dinner table, a child can easily climb up there, fall down, and hit their head. It's that simple. You wouldn't think it's a risky business to offer a dinner table, but it can be $1 million failure if you don't have a liability insurance. So yes, do have these amenities available, but make sure that you're covered by insurance.
A couple of questions about reviews, if they get consolidating across the Hostaway platform. Yes, they do, right? So we support now, we've been supporting Rader for a while, reviews consolidation from Vrbo and other channels as well within Hostaway. And we will soon add some automations to that. So keep watching this space because something cool is coming up in the next few days.
All right, here's a good question from anonymous attendee. Sometimes guests want to cancel and ask me to cancel for them. So I go to Hostaway to cancel the Vrbo booking citing guest issue. Would that have negative impact on my listing? What is the right way to do this? I can say that in some setups it's impossible as a guest to cancel, or when you try to cancel, it says you need to contact the host to cancel. But maybe you can shed a light on that, and also how instant book and accepted bookings versus cancellations impact the metrics and the performance.
Do you want me to go, or see you, Sam?
Either one. Go ahead.
So the cancellations, a guest cancellation is not going to negatively impact you. It would only be a partner initiated cancellation. So best practice is, if a guest needs to cancel, it is always best that they initiate that cancellation on their end. They can always contact Vrbo as well if needed, but through their app, they can request a cancel. And then we just need to make sure that that is marked appropriately within your software as either guest or partner initiated. And then that will translate back to us. So
Yeah, there should be an option within Hostaway, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to mark a cancellation by traveler or by owner. So if your traveler is asking you to cancel and they are unable to do it themselves, make sure you cancel this by traveler and not by owner.
There is, yes, I can confirm that.
All right, then Barbara has a great question here. For luxury properties, I'm afraid of allowing Insta booking because of the filters for bad guests. What is your recommendation? Well, I just described my own booking experience for, I guess, luxury properties, and it wasn't possible for me to even make a booking. But we offer a lot of tools for that. It's worth keeping in mind that if you're gonna attract guests that are of unwanted nature, it doesn't matter if you have the instant book on or off. They're going to request to book, and then you're going to allow them to book. The only thing that that having the request to book option on helps with is lowering the interest for your property. Now, with instant book on, you can always cancel, and of course, the guest, you can have the guest cancel. So as long as you have in the description that all the guests that book this need to sign a rental agreement, provide their ID, take a selfie, and do that before the check-in, then you can always cancel it any day. If they book 14 months ahead, you have 14 months time to decide if you want to let them stay there or not. But if you don't allow instant book, you're automatically saying no thank you to the best bookings out there, to the highest paying guests. So there is literally no argument for having request to book on Vrbo.
Yeah, and we agree, and I agree, Marcus. I think the most important thing here is understanding why a reservation might not be a good fit, and ensuring your house rules and Vrbo are set up appropriately. You have your rental agreement as well, and these should be the only reasons that you have to decline should be for some reason like that. So ensuring that you have your house rules set up, maybe that's age, maybe the person booking is under 24 and your house rules are 25 and up. These are reasons that you would cancel, and these would be waivable through our policies. So it would not impact you if you were to cancel these. So yeah, I think the benefits far outweigh the when it comes to instant book.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention an example from a couple of other travel related industries, because a lot of property managers, they just let people come to the property and then they get surprised when things go wrong. I have a challenge to all of those property managers. I challenge you to go out and rent a car or get on a plane or get in on a hotel room without having them asking you, give us your ID, give us your credit card, show us your face, come to a live check-in desk. They all do that to make sure that you are who you say you are, that you're not going to do anything illegitimate. And that's exactly what you as a property manager should do, especially if you have a high-end property. How can you let people in without checking their ID? They might have a stolen credit card. And you know what happens when you charge money to a stolen credit card? You're not going to see that money because it was stolen. It's not yours in the first place. So just remember that if you have ever rented a car, ever been on an airplane, ever checked into a hotel, they do these very basic security measures that you can automate within Hostaway. They ask for your ID, they ask to see your face, and they ask for a driver's license. It's super simple to automate that on Hostaway. But still, a lot of property managers think that somehow they don't need to do that. Now, there's a very good question here from Victor. I understand the cancellation policy, but how many bookings do you lose because of guests canceling last minute? Maybe Maria has some more details on how the cancellation policies work, but you don't need to set it up to be able to cancel last minute. I once again use the 14 months as an example. I don't need to cancel 1 week before, but let's say 6 months before. That's when I might want to cancel. Maybe my life has changed in the last 8 months and there's something going on. You will have 6 months time. I don't think you don't need to set it up so that it can be canceled 24 hours before check-in. And in fact, there's a lot of properties that say, yeah, you can cancel for free up to 1 month before or 3 months before. Maria, do you happen to know if we have these settings in Hostaway?
Yes, we do, and you can actually create custom policies, right? So, but the idea here is that I mean, you need to also understand why people are canceling last minute, right? So, if I ever have to cancel last minute something, I personally would feel really bad, and I would love to have a conversation with my host about it, right? So it's very important, the communication in the end, as much as the automation. The automation can happen in many other cases. The last minute is usually what we call in product development as well a edge case, right? So you would automate everything outside of the edge case, and you will try the edge case and treat the edge case as something special to deal with.
Yeah, Andrea has a similar question here about cancellations last minute. I don't know, is there anyone on this call who actually has any data on that?
I can jump on this one. Yes, what's going to happen is it depends, right? It could be anecdotal, like, oh, I moved it and I had 1 booking and 1 cancellation. But for the most part, what we've seen is an increase in bookings, an increase in page views, and conversion rate. And what happens when you get more bookings? There might be more cancellations, but in the long run, it typically will be in the benefit of getting more bookings, more revenue. And a lot of times it's finding what the typical lead time in your market is, and everyone probably has a better idea of what their market is. So if the most bookings come within a month before check-in date, like setting up your cancellation policy maybe to 1 month before check-in. So if it does get a cancellation, there's still time within your booking window to get another booking, I think is key. So, but there are, like I mentioned, we do have a case study, and I will post it here for everyone. We have a case study with one of our partners around the success of changing their cancellation policy. And there are, don't just take our word for it. You can see real life examples here, and the success that this partner had with changing their cancellation policy and receiving more bookings.
And I think I want to add to that, because I think my partners on this call that I spoke to earlier this week, it's at the listing level as well. So she wanted to try out a more flexible cancellation policy. So we're doing an A/B test where she moved a majority of her listings to moderate and left some on firm. So we're going to track that. So it is at the listing level.
Yeah, and I love that. Test it out. If you have 2 properties, try one with a lenient cancellation policy and leave the other where it's at and see what the difference is, and make up your decision. And I assume you'll end up moving both to the more lenient policy.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a lot of questions about last-minute cancellation. I like what Sam said there. It depends on the market. Have a look at, you know, what is the type of property you have, but most importantly, where is it? And what are the demographics for the travelers there that are coming to those locations? If it's in a place where people book last minute, but also in a place where plans change last minute, then it means that your average traveler is going to, in fact, cancel last minute. But if you don't allow that in your business model, if you say, I want no last minute cancellations, if 80% of the travelers want exactly that, you're essentially saying that here's the market, but I'm going to say no thank you to 80% of the revenue coming in. And the only thing you can really do to change that is to either change your type of property or change the location, which isn't the easiest thing to do. If you got a 1-bedroom condo in a business focused city, you can't just, you know, suddenly have a beach house in the Bahamas. It's a different thing, but that's the simple answer. You got to look at the numbers and see how many last minute cancellations actually happen, and is it worth it? All right, I see that we're over time. Once again, like I predicted, we didn't have time to answer all the questions, but thank you everyone for joining this. And for those listening to the recording, thanks for listening as well. This will be available on YouTube, and hopefully we'll have another webinar soon again. Thank you very much, Vrbo and Hostaway, for joining.